All right, welcome back to Q-Tips. As always, these are my opinions and my opinions only. We're just going to do a quick little preview for the Eagles-Rams game coming up at 1 o'clock today. This is a rematch from the playoffs last year. It's not really a rematch because these teams are obviously different. Every year the team is different. Some things are obviously going to stay the same, though. You know, the Eagles offense ran very successfully against the Rams last year. A lot of big runs. Saquon Barkley had over two 50-yard touchdown runs in both games. And the Rams, they did not have Davante Adams last year. They had Puka Nacua, and at the time was the skeleton of Cooper Kupp. He was not quite the same level that Davante Adams is playing at right now. So that's a very interesting matchup because the Rams really had problems with man coverage. And Vic Fangio and the Eagles, they run a defense that Sean McVay has a lot of issues with. When the Patriots, back in the day with Brady versus Goff, went to that Super Bowl and the high-flying Rams were shut down in that system, Bill Belichick actually brought Vic Fangio in before that Super Bowl because he knew that Vic Fangio's system really gave Sean McVay troubles. So there's a lot of people picking the Rams to win this game. I do believe that's possible. I would believe it's not as likely as everybody thinks just because they believe the Rams are that much better than the Eagles. I would say that's systematically not true. The Eagles are going to be able to run the ball, which is all the Eagles ever want to do, and I believe they're going to be able to play good defense. The problem with this game is there is a chance the Eagles are going to have to throw the ball. And if the Rams can get up early and make some big plays and we see what happens, we have not seen what the Eagles really had to do since they had to run, since they've had to pass, except in the Super Bowl last year, which that went very well for them. However, this will be a different test for them. I also believe it could be the same test. This very easily could just be the Eagles running the ball very easily and very successfully and then playing good defense. And if they get to the quarterback, I don't want to be here and saying that Matthew Stafford is going to get hurt, but this is one of those games where he could get hurt. And it seems like it's always these are the games where the quarterback for the other team does get hurt, and then everyone talks about, well, did the Eagles really win, or was it just that Stafford got hurt? The thing is, Matthew Stafford came into the season barely able to operate. He started the season with a very bad back problem. He had to take a epidural just in the preseason before they even started football. So the likelihood of Matthew Stafford playing 17 games is extremely unlikely. The chance of Matthew Stafford still being there in the playoffs is extremely unlikely. But with that being said, if Matthew Stafford did somehow play 17 games this year and was healthy into the playoffs, the Rams are a very good team. One of the teams that could absolutely win the Super Bowl. So with that being said, if the Eagles get to Stafford and he gets hurt and he goes out, don't pretend that was the reason the Eagles won, because the Eagles also would have caused that. But second of all, the Rams have had Matthew Stafford and still lost to the Eagles. Overall, the Eagles played very well against the Rams. I believe 9-1 in their last 10 games against the Rams. It's just one of those teams they seem to own, sort of how the Bucs seem to have Philadelphia's number, which next week, not looking ahead, I'm very nervous about that Bucs-Eagles game just because the Bucs defensive coordinator seems to really play Jalen Hurts very well. But I will say the Eagles defensive coordinator plays Sean McVay and the Rams very well. So it is interesting to see that. I do believe that this game is not going to be as exciting as everybody thinks. I think it's going to be a methodical game on the ground for the Eagles, play defense, and some of the defenders are going to have to make some plays. Somebody's going to have to step up and stop Puka Nacua and Davante Adams. And I do believe our second cornerback, he's going to have some trouble today. It's going to be more like the first week where they were picking on the second cornerback. And with that being said, with the tush push, I believe there will be a penalty the first time they try to run it. They will throw a flag immediately. They might not even get to call snap. They might call the offsides when the Eagles line up, even though it'll be the same way they've been lining up for that play for 3 years. I believe the discourse in the national media and how it was exposed, whichever way you want to say, there are penalties on both sides of the ball. Both teams are lined up in the neutral zone, and both teams have jumped off sides on that play. I know last week they showed the Eagles jumping off sides. There has been plenty of times where the defense has jumped off sides, and they haven't called that. With that being said, I do believe the NFL will get that play out of circulation by next year. I don't know if they will totally ban it this year, but I absolutely 1,000% believe the Eagles will be called for a penalty on the tush push today if they have to run it. If they were smart, I think they should just line up and run a normal QB sneak, because Jalen Hurts would be just as effective as that. He doesn't actually need the tush push. That's what people don't understand. If they ban the tush push, the Eagles will still be able to get 1 yard absolutely better than probably 99% of the teams because of their offensive line and their quarterback. But we'll see how this game goes. I'm excited. I do like that it's at 1 o'clock on the East Coast in Philly. I feel like that is a really big advantage for the Eagles. I do believe the Eagles will win this game. I do believe it'll be close because that's how the Eagles play. And I don't believe it's going to be as exciting as everybody wants it to be for fantasy and everything. I think it's going to be more of a defensive game for both teams. I think both teams have very good defenses. So, all right, with that, enjoy.